So this section is going to cover how to get background material on your topic. So Instructor Higgins has basically asked you to definitely do some research. That's definitely important for this paper. And you'll probably be doing even some more of that for a future assignment, maybe even related to the same book. But the process is very similar. You definitely want to make sure you get some background material and then do some further research. So first of all, if for some reason you didn't watch the section about the pages, in that section I talked the importance of understanding subject headings. And this is going to definitely be very important when you start to research and explore the reference ebooks, and especially when it comes time to searching the databases. For reference ebooks, I am going to provide to you as an extra details about how to use Gale ebooks, but we will look at it a little bit. In fact, I'm probably going to go from another place because there's already a good tutorial about Gale ebooks, but we'll go over it roughly, as well as a larger effort to see reference books that are not only in Gale ebooks, which is in our Articles Plus reference book entries. But before I do that, I want to focus these other sections, which is the overview of homegoing, our book itself, Africa and African history, so everything related to the Ashanti people, for example, and life in Ghana then, life in Ghana now. That's where you want to go. And African American history, including the times of slavery and sharecropping and other elements that are referred to in the book, the Fugitive Slave Act. All of that you can definitely take a look in this section here. So there are individual ebooks listed underneath here, and these can be in some ways your biggest time saver. So for this one, for example, on homegoing from novels for students, first section gives you a biography of our author, provides us a quick plot summary, and it has a whole list of characters. So yeah, this is definitely a reference resource for the ebook itself. It's something like notes, but of course written by better quality and by someone who definitely has at least a master's degree, if not a PhD, and expertise in this area. Followed by that is a list of themes that a lot of critics have been talking about. It's not a complete list of themes, but it does give you a list of various different themes that would be helpful, and especially if you're trying to figure out still what you're going to write about. So this is definitely a good place to go. Also some what are called critical thinking questions to help you. There's even some discussion about some stylistic elements and elements of the text, textures and storytelling and plots and symbols. And it even gives you some historical background. Now, I would recommend that most of you might want to spend some time taking a look at this, because this will definitely give you some important ideas and starting points as you are developing, your topics. Of course, nothing's going to compare to your own reading of the text, but this is definitely helpful. And I'm very glad that this has been written and achieved up to this point. Sometimes 5 years may not be enough, but this book has had such an impact. We already have one from this Gale series. Notice listed down below are various different sources, and some of these will definitely lead you to say some direct website material that is of considerable quality. So you might want to take a look at some of these. Finally, there's even a place of where to go for further reading, although it looks like most of these are probably novels, so probably not as helpful. Notice here, suggested search terms. This is also a good place to go to find more search terms. Although one criticism I have here, if you haven't looked at my pages by pages in the subject headings, Fonte is written with an I officially subject heading wise, not an E. So I'm a little bit surprised that the author, or at least the publisher with Yale, missed that. But at least these are definitely some good places to go to come up with some search terms and ideas. So definitely a good place. Also, here is more like this. So you can get more biographical materials about Gyasi and on symbolism. And there's even something about contemporary African immigration, the legacy of slavery in this book, which I suspect might be a literary criticism. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And yeah, it looks like it is an additional literary criticism that you can look at and utilize depending where you're going on your search. So that's a good place to go. Now, if your topic is on Africa and African history, Ghana, slave trade, what happened in the 17th or 18th centuries, et cetera, and so forth, this is a place to go. And so this is listed, both of these are listed alphabetically. This is the last one after the first one, which is a whole sequence of books that you can cross-search for the African Americans. But for Africa, notice that we have some books that especially focus on Ghana or the history of Ghana, and others a little bit more broad, but will definitely lead you to other resources. And if you're running into trouble getting background material, just select searching Gale ebooks. You might want to spend a little time looking at some of these individual resources here. When you click on an ebook, it either will take you to Gale or to the EBSCO interface. This one takes us to the EBSCO interface. So that means that we get the entire ebook all at once. And if we left click here, we can eventually, find it broken up into, different chapters. And so we can, let's see, looking at our availability of what we can do, we can print, email, and save as much as 100 pages. We can copy and paste as much as we want. We can download as much as we want. And for ebook availability, there are a whole bunch of us can look at it at the same time. So very, very friendly. Now, the reason why I'm emphasizing is sometimes only one person can look at it one time, and you may not be able to print, email, save, or even copy and paste at all. You can't even email yourself a chapter if you wanted to. So it's important to read those availabilities here. Now, if you want to search across, or if you want to see something's covered, you can, of course, go to the index. And I don't want to download the chapter. I meant to go here. That's why I went to the right side, which would ask me to download. And we can start browsing the index, and it can give us an idea in terms of what page it is. And of course, then we would scroll back up and down to find the page. And I know it's a little bit clunky going through here, but that's definitely available to us. We can also select search within. And so we can enter our search terms such as Ashanti. And I'm surprised only one came up. I'm finding it difficult to, let's do a slave trade. I'm sure more will come up for slave trade. Okay, a whole bunch came up here. And we can then browse around or figure out through context. And then if something looks promising, we can go to that page and then search around that. This is actually a list of resources on that page, whereas this other page, of course, is talking about the slave trade in general. So you see how that works. You can email yourself a certain amount of pages. So let's say you wanted everything from this particular section or a particular chapter, you can definitely do that. And then choose yourself to email. And by the way, I strongly recommend whatever you're considering possibly using, always email it to yourself. That way you have it available at your disposal. Your cloud is not down at a certain time. Yeah, I know your email can be down at a certain time, but of course, go to your email regularly and then download it onto your page, and then you have two different places you can go to. You know what I mean? Give it a subject line where you recognize in case it ends up in your spam folder. So homegoing article number 1, I'll call it. Comments if you wish. And then we'll email that PDF to us, sends us a confirmation, and we know it was sent. So go through here. I suspect it would probably be more in the Ghana reader, I suspect. Ashanti. I'm just going to go here just to make sure because I found that rather weird. Yeah, there we go. So I probably am already going to help you which one you may want to go to first, not to another. And I mean, some of this will probably be because of the variance of spellings, which we already have come across for Asante, Ashanti, et cetera, and so forth. If you go to the top right for African Americans, how this works in the Gale ebooks is that there's a whole category here of African Americans, and then we can search across this. So let's say that I'm especially, actually not sharecropping, let's do the Fugitive Slave Act. By the way, there were two of them. I suspect they're especially talking about the one from 1850, but there's also one from 1793. And from the 1851 is the more famous one of those two, which I suspect it's talking about. But you notice here that it comes across various different results from over a number of resources. A lot of them, which are also show up in the ones below. Although this one, for in the case of Fugitive Slave Act, this one is actually an EBSCO ebook. This particular title, which is The War Before War, I believe it's called. I'm going by memory here. Yeah, The War Before the War. And then you can eventually search across this ebook here and maybe find a chapter that you might want to look at closely and might want to use in reference for your paper if you're talking about the Fugitive Slave Act. So that's the advantage of going to individual titles here. When you go to a larger space, this is where it's going to become important that you especially need to be aware of your search terms. For example, let me enter Ashanti here in Gale eBooks. And you guessed it, we're immediately being led to all this information about the rapper known as Ashanti. Oh my God, is there anything in here? Oh, there's something regarding to Ashanti extravagant funeral, but everything here, oh my God, there was something called the Ashanti Wars. Is that, I get, yeah, Gold Coast. Okay, yeah, we're getting close, but you see how that frustrating this can be. So this is where Ashanti African people becomes all the more important in terms of our subject headings, and our wrapper disappears when we do that. So that's what's important. If you go to these larger spaces, you'll have to be prepared to do things like that. Likewise, if you go into our even larger space here, which is the Articles Plus version of reference encyclopedias and more. I wonder if it'll be better. I didn't check this beforehand. And yeah, we're already being, look, the good news is that our research starter here is on the Ashanti people. But immediately, as you see right down below, we have a wrapper again. So probably still helps to include our whole subject heading here. And now we're probably in better shape. And even then, some things coming up a little bit off on that. We may have to play around with it a little bit more. But that's how it goes. Now, when you come across something through here, notice if you find something here and it says Gale full text, that will take you directly to the Gale article itself from its chapter. Come across something like this, it says full text finder. You first come across this, and then it says find Encyclopedia of Goddesses and Heroines. And so you click on that. And then that takes you to the EBSCO ebook. So it sometimes takes various different steps to find that. And then you can go through here. So I entered Ashanti. It's probably going to refer to some of their mythologies. Yeah, and yeah. Radin Asaya, isn't that the name of our author? That may be something worth writing about. Huh. Yeah. I may have given you a paper idea right there without meaning to, but you see how that works. So I'm going to do a little bit of, I'm going to go back into Gale books for a moment, because while there is a separate tutorial that talks about how to use its features to its full potential, let's go back here. In this case, let's do our spider figure here. Anansi, I believe, was so when you come across an article, so it tells us what our tale is here in a nutshell. So we're getting a background information. Tells us where we can go to find more like this. So especially this is a Trickster Tales. Legendary character, of course, was if I notice that Anansi mythological figure, that's yet another suggested subject heading, something worth jotting down. And that's how you find these. Now, for some of these results, I wonder if the first one might be, yeah, the first one's a little bit more extensive here. You'll find that a lot of these are very extensive. They are, and what's nice about subject encyclopedia articles, which a lot of these are, is they're written by the same type of experts who write journal articles. They have their masters. They have their expertise in this area. And the only difference here is instead of being for a peer-reviewed publication for a new type of research, they're writing their resources for you who want to learn about these overviews. So it's more like through an editor in this case, but still a very good quality. And then a whole bibliography of resources you could then explore from there and see if any of these might be available in the library. So all of these, and that's where footnote chasing comes in. That's a separate tab. So that's where that goes. So I probably exhausted most things that you need to know about the section in terms of finding background materials. So next up, we're going to go delve into deeper and find some research articles on our topics that we're now more familiar about.